If you're anything like us, the idea of finding parking while traveling full-time may feel a little bit daunting. Trust us, we've been there. But now that we've been on the road for 3.5 months, we feel like we've finally gotten the hang of it. So in this video, we're going to show you how to find places to park for your RV, van, or schoolie. Let's start out with arguably the most important places, the free ones. One thing we didn't realize before is that most casinos are actually free to stay at, and they're surprisingly super comforting to stay at because they have 24/7 security. You're also normally allowed to stay for 3 to 5 nights, which is really nice. One of the negatives is that sometimes you do need to get a player's card, but they only need your driver's license for you to sign up, so it's not that big of a deal. After that, you actually get free money to play with. We aren't gamblers, but when it's free, who's going to say no to that? Another free place you can stay at is Walmart. We enjoy this because it allows us to do our shopping and get some chores done. Now, make sure you always call ahead and check that they allow for overnight parking so you don't make the same mistakes we did.
No overnight parking, Walmart, you're doing us dirty. Just drove like 2.5 hours.
You can also only stay for one night, although we've stayed longer than one night before and only got a note on our windshield stating that we had to leave.
But we did get this notice from Walmart calling us out for staying more than one night.
So it wasn't that bad.
There's also Cracker Barrel. Again, make sure you call ahead with this one. You can only stay one night, but they have pretty good food, which makes it so worth it. Another store you can stay in is the parking lot of Cabela's. We've never actually done this, but I've heard great things.
A fifth free place is truck stops and rest areas. Truck stops especially are not my personal favorite because the trucks can be super loud, coming and leaving all throughout the night.
We're so close to both these truckers, like that one. I can literally see this guy, his remote.
They also tend to leave their engines running, which can get pretty loud. You can typically only stay for 8 hours, although when we broke down and were stuck at a rest area for a few days, no one said anything to us.
And last but certainly not least is the almighty BLM Land, aka the Bureau of Land Management. The BLM is an agency which is responsible for public lands and the beautiful national forests. With over 247 million acres, it governs 1/8 of the country's landmass. The only downside to BLM Land is that there's sometimes not good service. But hey, when you're staying on such a beautiful place, who needs service anyway?
Generally speaking, you're typically allowed to park in parking lots or pullouts that don't have the dreaded no parking sign. But then again, we have parked in places with these signs and it's been okay. When in doubt, it's always good to ask around and check with others to see if certain parking areas are okay to park at. Now, I know what you're thinking, but how do I find all these magical free spaces? Well, a simple Google search of casinos, Walmarts, or Cabela's near me will show you, but that can get extremely tedious. It also gets pretty complicated because you can't actually camp on all BLM land, only the designated areas. So that's why we use different free phone apps and resources to help us find free parking nearby.
Our favourite free apps that we use frequently are definitely iOverlander and Campedium. We also use FreeRoam, The Dirt, Trucker Path, and Allstays, but not so much them. Different apps are beneficial in different areas and for different places. For example, iOverlander is definitely our go-to. It just seems easiest to navigate and narrow down our search to find what we're looking for. It also seems to have the most free options a lot of the time, with great reviews sometimes including pictures from others who've stayed there.
Campendium is a close second for us. We found sometimes it has more options than iOverlander. It just really depends on what part of the country we're in. FreeRoam is also a good option because it includes Cracker Barrels. There's also Allstays. I actually paid $9.99 for this app, but think it's well worth it. Jay disagrees with me, but it just seems like you can narrow it down so much to exactly what you're looking for. Plus, it also has the option where you can see what Walmarts don't allow overnight parking. Very useful, especially for us. Lastly, there's Trucker Path, which is a great way to find truck stops. There's also different reviews and information about whether or not a truck stop is full. When researching, it's always good to cross-reference and check more than one app to see what's in the area. If you're not yet on the road, definitely download the apps, get acquainted with them, and see which ones you like best. Sometimes we find certain areas Campendium is best, and others, it's another app. That's why it's important to always have more than one option.
When in doubt, there's always good old Google Maps to see if there are any pullouts in the area. Oh, and we also have our own website with a free list of places we've stayed if you're interested in checking that out. We give our own rating with pictures, we list all the positives and negatives of each place, and we say how we found it. It's always reassuring to know if another person has stayed somewhere, especially a school bus.
The next way to find parking is through Boondockers Welcome. If you guys follow us at all, you've probably heard us talk about Boondockers Welcome before because we absolutely love it. It's only $50 a year to become a member, or free if you become a host. After you pay your membership, you get to stay on a host's private land for free for up to 5 nights depending on the host's settings. We've had some of our best experiences through Boondockers Welcome. We've stayed with some pretty amazing people.
The guy just let us pick vegetables from his garden.
And we think this is because you have to be extremely nice to allow a stranger to stay on your land. Some of them also allow hookups or free amenities. The only true negatives are that there aren't more hosts, especially if you have a bigger rig or in another country. But this is a fairly new program, so as it continues to grow, it will continue to be our go-to. Also, if you have really nice land, definitely add yourself as a host.
And number 3, Harvest Host, an app that gives you access to hundreds of farms, golf clubs, wineries, breweries. It costs $120 for the year for our membership, or $79 for the year if you don't want the golf resorts. You can normally only stay for 1 night, although we've had a few occasions where people have allowed us to stay for more than 1. When in doubt, it's always good to ask because you never know what they'll say. The positive and negative is that it's kind of expected of you to buy something wherever you stay. They're normally amazing wineries or farms, but it's not good if you're on a budget. Harvest Host has an app and a website, so it's really convenient and easy to find one wherever you are.
Our number 4 way to park is the classic way, through campgrounds. We stayed at campgrounds a lot when first adjusting to living full-time in our schoolie. It's a more comfortable way of camping with little to no stress. It can normally be pretty pricey at around $50 a night, but there are normally great amenities included in your stay like cheap laundry, free water, and free electrical hookups. If you're an RV owner, we really can't recommend Thousand Trails enough. It's $500 a year for 2 zones and access to hundreds of campgrounds all across the country. It allows you to stay for up to 2 weeks at a time if you stay out of the system for a week after that, or for 4-day intervals. It gives you access to unlimited water and hookups, and if you want to add another zone, it's just $60.
If you're a schoolie, Thousand Trails can be a little bit sketchy. Some of the Thousand Trails can be a bit snotty and require an RV certification or something. Some of the 10 or so Thousand Trails we were allowed to stay at, we were rejected at one of them.
Made it to a Thousand Trails reservation, and we got here and they asked us for like some stupid RV certificate thing. Thousand Trails, Pacific City in Oregon. Sucks.
Overall though, we've had a great experience with them while we've gotten acclimated to living full time on the road.
At the end of the day, you'll only truly learn how to find parking by going out and experiencing it yourself. I know it can seem daunting, but don't worry, you'll find parking, so there's no need to stress. Hey, if we can do it, so can you.